All right, guys, before we kind of dive deep into this video, if you wouldn't mind checking out the links in the description for merch and Patreon, that would really help support the channel if you enjoy my content. So thank you for any new patrons or anyone that buys merch. But now on to today's video. Today's video is all about the Fandom Menace. The Fandom Menace was always correct about Disney, Star Wars. We were always correct about this trilogy. And now we're starting to see that we were always correct. We knew exactly where Disney was going with these movies. And now even the shills, they sound like they're members of the Fandom Menace. They really do. This movie is pleasing no one. No one. This movie seems like it's going to go down as one of the greatest disappointments in Hollywood history. It really does. Because people that really enjoyed Star Wars: The Last Jedi, they hate this movie. People that are fans of the OT and the prequels, they seem to hate this movie because of what happens at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. Think of that. All of a sudden, after 2 years of being called racist and sexist by Last Jedi defenders, or defenders of The Force Awakens as well, but mainly The Last Jedi, why aren't they being called racist and sexist for not liking this movie? Because according to a lot of the reviews, this movie retcons a lot of The Last Jedi. Even more evidence that Rian Johnson will never get a trilogy. Never, ever. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near Star Wars again. This movie is a disaster. There have been really no good reviews that I've seen on this movie. Well, I shouldn't say not many. Not many is a better term I should use, I guess. Not a lot of people are praising this movie. I was watching Collider. You know that Collider, they are big time shills. They are divided on the movie. Now, Mark Riley, I think he is by far now the biggest shill. He absolutely loved this movie. The guy next to him on the video, I can't remember his name. He didn't like this movie. And he says that it undermines and completely destroys Episode 6. It destroys the legacy of what Star Wars is. And I think I really know what he's saying. Because George Lucas has always said that Star Wars was a family soap opera. Think of that. A family soap opera about the Skywalker family. And I'm not going to dive into any spoilers, but if you know what's going to happen in this movie, especially the end, you're going to find out that this really has nothing to do with the Skywalker family. Not at all. And Disney, they have done a great job now at alienating everyone. The Fandom Menace was always correct. We always said if you pander to SJWs, they will never be satisfied. And guess what? SJWs hate this movie. They hate this movie. The Last Jedi was the epitome of pandering to SJWs. Rian Johnson said, if you don't like this movie, you're racist and sexist. Now, those people that like that movie hate The Rise of Skywalker. Why are they not being called racist and sexist? The Fandom Menace was always right. Kathleen Kennedy and her minions have completely destroyed the legacy of George Lucas. And I saw a clip from this movie earlier on Twitter. It was disgusting. completely disgusting in that clip. The retcon of the heart and soul of Star Wars was on full display. George Lucas, they met with him, but it is clear, crystal clear, that they didn't listen to him. Crystal clear. Now, maybe they did shoot some stuff that George approved or that George told them they should do, but they did go for extensive reshoots. Extensive reshoots, really up until about 3 weeks ago. That's a bad sign. J.J. Abrams apparently wanted to pander to everyone. Disney, Lucasfilm, they feared the Fandom Menace. They feared us. They feared us completely. Because everything that we were saying, they knew it to be true, and they tried to implement it into the Rise of Skywalker, and that way, they have alienated their SJW fans. But yet and still, they still did not respect the core element of what Star Wars is. And we knew that. The Fandom Menace was always correct. I was a big critic of Star Wars The Force Awakens. I saw right through that movie. I was like, this does not respect the legacy of George Lucas. Some people, they liked it because it felt like Star Wars. To me, that movie never felt like Star Wars. And I knew from there, they were going to alienate the core of what Star Wars is. It's no mistake that Luke Skywalker was not in that movie. It's no mistake that Luke Skywalker was disrespected in The Last Jedi. And it's no mistake that Luke Skywalker has little to no role in this movie. The heart and soul of Star Wars is dead. The Fandom Menace was right. Disney and Lucasfilm, they feared the Fandom Menace. Now, when they said that it has a little something for everyone, they didn't go into specifics of who they were talking about. Yeah, they probably were talking about everyone. Because apparently this movie tries to please everyone. And when you try to do that, you end up pleasing no one. And based on the ending of this movie, there's really no way in the world that they consulted with George Lucas. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But based on all the leaks, and all the leaks have been confirmed, it's pretty much 100% confirmed. It's a disaster. Everything about Star Wars Episode 4, 5, and 6, throw it out the window. It doesn't matter. Rian Johnson actually said last week in an interview that you cannot pander to the fans. No wonder his Star Wars The Last Jedi movie, his Rotten Tomatoes score with the audience is dropping. It used to be at 44%. Then it dropped down to 45, 44, and now it's sitting at 43%. The Fandom Menace was always right. The Fandom Menace was always right. And now, the shill media paid for by Disney Star Wars to watch this movie before its worldwide release, they have turned their back on Disney. Because when it all comes down to it, even shills, some of the shills are actually Star Wars fans. But when you retcon the OT, you have crossed the line, even with the shills. The Fandom Menace was always right. John Campea, Big Time Shill, he said this was the most disappointing Star Wars movie he has ever seen. Another Big Time Shill, Scott Mendelson of Forbes, said this was the worst Star Wars movie of all time. Now, maybe some of that has to do with them liking The Last Jedi, but I don't think Campea is dumb. Campia, I do believe he's a Star Wars fan. You know, some Star Wars fan, all you need to do is just put Star Wars in the name. They're going to love it. Even though Campia, he wasn't a big fan of the prequels, I wonder now how he feels about the prequels. Maybe he'll change his tune. The Phantom Menace was always right. The Fandom Menace was always right. Kathleen Kennedy needs to go. She needs to go. I don't know what the audience score is really going to be when it comes out. Based on elites, based on the shield media not even liking this movie, the fan score is going to be bad. It actually may be worse with the fans on Rotten Tomatoes than The Last Jedi. If The Last Jedi is at 43%, and this movie is so divisive, it's even more divisive than The Last Jedi apparently, you may be looking at like a 38, 35% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. We know that J.J. Abrams is not a closer. He's been on record. He is not a closer. Did J.J. Abrams even really have any real power when it came to this movie? If J.J. Abrams is a Star Wars fan, why in the world would he actually make decisions like this? Now, he has bosses. Maybe Kathleen Kennedy had a bigger role in this movie than what we were led to believe. Because based on all the leaks, this seems like something she approved of. A woman with no creative bone in her body whatsoever is in control of the greatest franchise ever. This is a failure like I've never seen before. The Fandom Menace has been saying this for the last 2 years, but we were called racist and sexist. But now they realize the Fandom Menace was always right. That's just my thoughts on this. What do you guys think of this? The shield media, they're starting to sound like the Fandom Menace. Some so more than others. And I'm looking here on Rotten Tomatoes, and women are saying a harried and hectic affair. Another person says, it's too bad that the Star Wars saga has saved the worst for last. A top critic. Think of that. So guys, let me know what you think about all this in the comments. If you're new here to the channel, please hit subscribe to catch future videos from me, and we will catch you on the next video. John Matrixx, out.